Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Coding and Philosophy podcast. I'm Juho.
And I am T.
Yeah, and Juho just ate what you call it, a milkshake, which expired last Christmas. So I have a little bit of a stomach cramp because of it. But it was a tasty one though. It tastes good. And if I think it tastes good, but it's bad for me, I'm gonna eat it anyways.
Yeah. Well, I have questions on your decision-making algorithm.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't the best. But for today's episode, we're gonna be discussing Typescript.
A technology.
Technology.
A programming language. An add-on to a programming language.
Mm-hmm.
Typescript.
Exactly. And I have my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Non-virtual again. Analog notes. So, yeah, I think what we can start out with is what actually is Typescript, which it's a superset of JavaScript, meaning it's a language that was built on top of JavaScript because, well, people thought that JavaScript had some problems, which maybe, maybe it does have some problems.
Mm-hmm.
But I still believe in the fact that it's the people who have the problem. It's not the technology, it's the people who use it. So when people complain about JavaScript not having, or there's no type safety in JavaScript, well, the reason, or when types become a problem in JavaScript, it's because the JavaScript code which is written, it doesn't explicitly state the types, or it's written in a way which what type a variable is made unclear.
It's not only it's made unclear as you claim, but it can be overwritten. The variable can be overwritten by another type. So we can using one variable and declare it as a string, and then a couple of lines of codes later, we just happen to assign integers into the same name variable, and JavaScript will give a thumbs up and say it's a pass.
Exactly.
And then when the entire lines of code runs, it breaks type error, and we know what the fuck.
Yeah, that's a very common problem. But I don't know. I just, and people get upset about that and they blame JavaScript, right? Rather than looking at themselves and go, what did I do wrong?
Or learning TypeScript.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's a good segue to how does it actually work, or what does it mean? So, once you can add TypeScript to any JavaScript project. It's you just it compiles into JavaScript.
It compiles to JavaScript, but
so
just like any JavaScript library, it will compile to JavaScript.
Yeah. So, and you can have a project, let's say, with a bunch of TypeScript and JavaScript files, and then you just compile those TypeScript into JavaScript, and it works. So, it's the flexibility which it allows is really, it's really good, really remarkable.
So how is it works? Do you in my imagination, I haven't used TypeScript in any of my project. In my imagination, you explicitly declare the type of any variable you plan to use.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So when you declare a variable, you have to set the type. And also with functions, when you have the inputs or the parameters.
The parameters. You also have to explicitly say what is the type of the parameters.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of what that type of coding does, because a lot of the bugs that people have in code or in JavaScript, it's type errors. You're trying to do something to a type, it's not possible, because, well, you are mistaking its type, right?
That means the type of error I usually make is trying to call a different method. Well, I don't remember the name of the method that is being called on the object.
Mm.
Perhaps that correlates to the type error, right? Because I'm trying to call a method that is not found in the prototype of that data type.
Exactly. So that's a type error because you're trying to do something to something that doesn't have
that method.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and well, thus I'm not sure if TypeScript removes all of the type errors, but it significantly reduces those
by bringing the utmost certainty of what type it is.
Yeah, and I also think well, this is debatable. Does it make the, for example, functions more clear when because if you have a JavaScript function and you come to it and you start reading it, then you don't know what type the parameters are. It's just, you have to figure it out.
Mm.
But with the TypeScript function, you see it, oh, this is a string.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it gives you more things for you to understand
Mm-hmm.
what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm. I think good prior to TypeScript, developers may have to rely on the documentation to understand what is the data type of the parameters as well as the return of the functions. Rely on documentation.
Yeah. I would say, well, I mean, if we're thinking about the bad parts of TypeScript, well, the added layer of complexity is one, because let's say you have a code base written in, well, TypeScript, entirely in TypeScript. You need to find a developer who understands it and knows how to write TypeScript code, which is, it's not only you have to find a developer, but a developer who understands JavaScript and on top of that understands TypeScript, which, the list of requirements for your developer starts to grow.
But that increases the certainty and the robustness of the code.
Yeah.
Of the software and
That's
the product. And that perhaps that sounds like a fair trade-off. In order to build a better product, we find better developers.
Yeah, true. You don't always have that luxury though. So I would say maybe if you have let's say an application idea and you're just developing the first version, it's okay to use just vanilla JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have developed it and you need to revisit the code base and start to, well, rewrite it, or then not say rewriting it, but refactor. That's the word. But I don't know. It's because the good thing is that you can use TypeScript with JavaScript, like interchangeably or in the same projects. So I really, as I'm talking about it, I feel like every JavaScript project could benefit from some TypeScript. Because even though it adds a layer of complexity,
mm-hmm.
but, well, like you said, it makes...
It's a fair trade-off comparing to the advantage that TypeScript brings, which offers the certainty in the certainty of the outcome and in the codes.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, true. So if we think about the benefits of it, well, the reduced box that you can make mistakes in. So you make less mistakes, or not make less mistakes. Let's say in the world of JavaScript, you have this. You can do anything, basically. There's very little rules. TypeScript adds more rules. And when you have more rules, then you also make less mistakes. Or like it reduces the amount of mistakes you can make, in a way.
It's more regulated, yes. It's more regulated.
Yeah, the code. I like the word you use, regulated. More regulated code. Yeah.
And regulations offer often offer standardized, and standardization means that more pool of people can read the same code. Just imagine you read a complete gibberish spaghetti code that someone produces and they claim it is the phenomenal line of code that they conjure up, but you don't understand a single line of them because of the gibberish hits.
Sounds like every JavaScript code base ever. Yeah.
You remember the Fireship programming language video in which the lower tier there will be brain fuck kind of programming language with syntax that is made of emoji or teen code.
Yes, I do. But that was something
that is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
so that's actually that type of situation. If that happens to the programming, the code base, some regulations in the landscape actually bring benefits that more people can collaborate on this one and together build on top of something much more than one individual can.
And also when you talk about regulations, well, the good thing about TypeScript is that you have when you utilize it in your project, you have a configuration file. And you can make whatever type of configuration kind of rules that you want for TypeScript.
Like can you provide an example? Here's my imaginary situation. Can TypeScript declare a class type? So you create a class and you say that this variable has the type belonging to, it is an instance of this class. Can you specify it as such?
Yeah. If I understood what you're saying right, so in TypeScript you can create this, let's say you have you create like what is it called? For example, when you have an object, you can create a type for that object describing, this function is going to take in an object as a parameter, and that object is going to contain these properties you can define. And you can also have, it might contain this, like you add a question mark on it. So typings for the objects that you create. Is that what you're describing? If I understood your...
In your specific example, are you specifying the type for the values and the keys?
Yeah, both. But for both. But you can also, you have this any keyword. So basically, if you don't want to specify, or if you don't know what... if you want to have some JavaScript in your TypeScript, basically, you can always...
Anywhere.
Yeah, you can just say that, this variable is going to be any type. So that's the thing. You can still write, let's say, JavaScript. So when I was working in Dashboard and we started to utilize TypeScript, when we started doing it, I had a hard time, kind of starting to use it, because TypeScript is a kind of a different language than JavaScript.
So it's not as easy and just declaring the variable type.
Yeah, but like with any JavaScript, any language, you have to get used to it. You have to get used to utilizing it. And so for me, it was hard in the beginning to utilize TypeScript to its fullest potential. Or I utilized it to some degree of potential. I'm not sure if I could state I used it to the fullest, but but it takes a while to get used to using it. So at the beginning, I was basically just using any type in everywhere.
And any type in anywhere.
Which defeats the purpose of the entire thing.
Defeats the purpose
Like,
of the entire thing.
There's no reason to use it otherwise. But as you started to get used to it,
maybe it brings more comfort when you know the exact typing of this variable. And perhaps TypeScript even coerces you. It gives you a warning in the IDE that you are violating the data type of this variable.
Yeah, so that's another thing. You can have them as as basically yellow warnings.
The yellow warning.
Or you can have them as red arrows.
Red arrows.
So when you kind of compile the code, it says that, hey, you're breaking some, rules in that you have set for yourself, and this it fails to compile because you have red arrows.
So TypeScript actually raises an error or throw an error when you're violating the type declarations.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And with that, I think we can say goodbye to you guys and see you guys in another Coding and Philosophy episode.
And remember, keep on coding.
And philosophizing. Okay, goodbye.
Good.